What's going on, guys? My name is Tommy. Welcome back to the channel. Today, Wednesday, not Saturday, turns out we've got another Pathfinder 2nd Edition blog. I was supposed to move my bed into my new apartment, but you know, half-elves and half-orcs are now upon us, and I'd much rather talk about that than have to load a bed solo into my father's truck, drive it up the I-70 corridor, drag it up a bunch of stairs. Yeah, no. Thank you so much, Paizo, for an extra blog. A monument to my love of procrastination. Now, remember, if you guys like what you see, hit that like button, hit that subscribe button today. This episode of your Pathfinder 2nd Edition preview content was brought to you in part by Chris Ward. Chris, thanks so much for your support, my friend. And thank you for pledging to bump your support up a little bit so yours truly can pretty much, as soon as he's unpacked in his new apartment, turn around and go to Gen Con. Let's dive in. So, in Pathfinder 1st Edition, half-elves, half-orcs existed amongst the core races, and they were pretty good. A half-elf got that free skill focus in Pathfinder 1st Edition, which, to be honest, I think is very relevant to Pathfinder 2nd Edition. In a world with 4 degrees of success, in a world with initiative rolled off skills, yeah, no, that seems amazing. They got to diversify their abilities to represent their varied heritage. Half-orcs have a once-a-day ferocity, which is, I don't care what you say, Kane, a very powerful ability all the way through. I do prefer a full orc over a half-orc because they get it more than once a day. In Pathfinder 1st Edition, they get it just whenever they're dying. Super good if you can cast Stabilize on yourself and just kind of limp away anyone you walk away from, right? And I've committed in my first Pathfinder 2nd Edition game as a PC, which you can check out, by the by, over at the Inn of Planar Crossroads. We should have our session -1 going live real soon. Follow this card right here, and we'll direct you over to play a half-elf ranger. I like the flavor of the half-breed races a lot in Pathfinder. I understand why a lot of people choose to play humans, but personally, I can never really get behind that, because when I wake up every day, I am a human. I want to be something else, be something I'm not in the skin of right now. But also, I understand how a human thinks because, again, you know, I happen to be one. So something along the lines of a skinwalker, a Dampier, even a Kitsune to some extent, because it's a human that shapeshifts into a fox, right? Those races are right up my alley. In Pathfinder 2nd Edition, those races are getting restructured from the ground up. Half-elves and half-orcs in the playtest will be additions to the human ancestry. We'll start by selecting human as our race, then taking the corresponding heritage feat to represent your ancestry. And yeah, here's the half-elf feat. It's a heritage feat for humans at feat level 1. Either one of your parents was an elf, or one or both were half-elves. You have pointed ears and other telltale signs of elven heritage. You gain the elf trait. Select 2 of the following benefits. Elven speed, which increases your speed by 5. Elven tongue. The IOPC guys know. Add elven to your list of languages. Gifted speaker, which lets you be trained in diplomacy or low light vision. In addition, you can select elf, half-elf, and human feats whenever you gain an ancestry feat. This feat can actually be selected twice. The second time it loses the heritage trait and you gain the other 2 benefits. Anywho, what is happening? Here's a quote. This approach comes with a number of advantages. First off, it lets us make a half-elf that truly does have some of the advantages of both ancestries, while still allowing you to pick the parts that you think best represent your character's upbringing. If you grew up among elves, you can pick elven language. If you have to explain yourself to the humans you grew up with, then be trained in diplomacy. Me personally, my half-elf is the son of a warrior who's ridden away from his responsibilities to his horde and fell in love with an elf and put away the horse and bow in favor of peace. And when Octarian, son of Octar, yeah, I'm so hyped, realizes that this is what his father has done, he rides off under the eternal blue sky to, you know, see how horse archery works in Pathfinder 2nd Edition. Hype is real. As with all of our ancestries, we wanted the choice of being half-elf or half-orc to be meaningful to your character and expressive of the backstory that you've decided to create. So what is of those? I guess I'm picking low light vision because it's good, because I'm trying to be a horse archer. I don't need the speed, and I'm embarrassed of my elven heritage. I probably hide my ears for the whole campaign, so I don't necessarily want to speak Elven. Yeah, of those, it's got to be low light vision, and I guess a diplomacy buff, sure. Well, no, we'll take the increase to speed by 5 feet, because maybe you can transfer that to your mount. I'm rambling. Moving forward, this ancestry feat gives a lot of benefits. To get similar benefits, you would normally use a general feat to pick up adoptive ancestry, which grants you access to the ancestry feats from another ancestry as long as they don't have physiological requirements. That's huge. That's amazing, because I really wanted my ranger to have both an animal companion, probably a horse, perhaps like a stag or something, we'll see, and a falcon familiar, and there it is, right there. I don't have to be a gnome. I can just take that feat. I have a familiar. We did it, guys. We made it. Yes! I don't have to be a gnome. The blog also notes that being a half-elf gives you access to human feats, elf feats, and half-elf feats, including feats with physiological components, as well as 2 additional benefits. Hey, next up we get to see some of the benefits for general humans. Ancestry feats like Natural Ambition will give them an extra first level class feat, General Training gets them an extra first level general feat, and Skilled gets them training in 2 additional skills. And we see a feat known as Clever Improviser. It's for humans, feat level 1. You've learned how to handle situations where you're out of your depth. You gain a +1 circumstance bonus to checks for skills in which you're untrained. Yeah, sure, not bad. This seems to be a game where that +1 incrementally wherever is really relevant, especially in a world where beating a DC by 10 equals a critical success. Man, especially in combat, you know what? Because there's so many things out there that are going to put -2s on attack rolls and stuff, and also rogues will be better at flanking, barbarians have rage, and then that +1 on a given attack roll, that might literally be the difference between normal hit and critical hit. Seems good. Very well done, Paizo. I really like it. And here next up we see a feat for the orcs. Orc Ferocity. Feat level 1, frequency once a day. The trigger, you're reduced to 0 hit points. This is a reaction. Fierceness in battle runs through your blood and you refuse to fall from injuries. When this feat is triggered, you avoid being knocked out and remain at 1 hit point. Okay, so not the ferocity of old where you just were stable at negative hit points, and if you had a really deep con score, you could just hang out forever. Or if you had a con score and could cast something like Stabilize, you could go, at least from my understanding of it, from dying to disabled and then just don't exert yourself until you can find better healing. But, as we know, the dying mechanic is changing. In Pathfinder 2nd Edition, we got that dying 1, 2, 3 dead. So, of course, Ferocity would need to see an overhaul as well. Last up today, we see a feat known as Inspire Imitation. It's a half-elf feat level 5. You inspire your allies to great feats through your own actions. Whenever you critically succeed at a skill check, you automatically qualify to take the aid reaction when attempting to help an ally at the same skill check, even without spending an action to prepare to do so. That's not bad. I don't necessarily build aid in other oriented characters, but I've seen them. I've GM'd for them. There's nothing wrong with a free +2 or 4 or more to somebody's skill check, especially, like, God forbid, if your half-elf is the only person in the party who's got athletics and you guys all fall off your ship into the water. Okay, if you knew it was an aquatic-based game, train athletics. But, like, if you get shanghaied or something, if it was beyond your control, and like the sorcerer or the wizard or whoever is real bad at swimming starts to drown, there you go. That's really powerful. Octarian might take this if we end up doing a lot of overland travel, a lot of mounted combat, a lot of horseback riding. Hint, hint, Adam Spain. For some of the characters that might not be as good at riding as, you know, the horse archer that I'm trying to build. Hype is real. Now, the blog notes a couple of really fun things before we end today. Quote, beyond what this means for half-elves and half-orcs, using an ancestry feat to unlock a more diverse heritage gives us a lot of options for the future. For instance, Azamar's tieflings and other planar scions come from a wide variety of ancestries in Galarion instead of just defaulting to human. In Pathfinder 1st Edition, there's a sidebar to that effect. I know I've had that conversation with a couple of people, by the by, like, if you want your skinwalker to have been a dwarf, totally welcome, you can do that. I actually have a dwarf skinwalker that I haven't ever played. I need 1st Edition games. Anyway. But it provides no mechanical adjustment for non-human planar scions beyond their size category. The playtest treatment would allow you to build a character whose ancestry really reflects their combined heritage. And if your setting has half-elves and half-orcs, where the other parent isn't human, say half-orc, half-dwarf characters, whoa. Okay, yeah, that seems good. You can just allow the half-orc feat for dwarf characters and the rest of the work is already taken care of. That's huge. I definitely have seen a couple people in the comments. I've spoken to you guys about the future of the Kitsune in Pathfinder 2nd Edition, and though that's a bit farther of a jump than an Aasimar or a Dampier or a Skinwalker or anything of that nature, that is a human that turns into a fox, and then a fox that turns into a human and has huge disguise checks for doing it. Also, they make real good Fey sorcerers in 1st edition, but you didn't hear that from me because your GM will come to my house and beat me if he has to GM for that, or you'll just fight constructs forever. Regardless, there it is, right there. There's even for, like, just people like us, just dudes and dudettes playing the Pathfinder role-playing game, it seems really easy to just, like, throw together an Aasimar. If you want an Aasimar in Doomsday Dawn, or a Tiefling in whatever game you're playing, etc., etc., etc. And that's really cool. I find that to be a lot better than the RP system of the Advanced Race Guide back in 1st edition, which was good. You could build good races that way, but also the RP system is kind of arbitrary in terms of what is powerful and what is not powerful. Looking at you, Reborn Magic Samsarans. Here, it's just like playing with Legos, and I like building stuff. That's like 45% of the reason why I play Pathfinder, right there. And if it's easier to access for all of us out there, then I say, honestly, so much the better. But what are you guys thinking about all this? Are we playing half elves in Pathfinder 2nd Edition? Are we playing half orcs in Pathfinder 2nd Edition? Or are we playing half orc, half dwarf, stronger than both characters? What, how? Ferocious Beard Warlord in Pathfinder 2nd Edition. And hey, don't forget, if you want to play that in Fantasy Grounds Ultimate Edition, we're giving it out right here. One copy is good enough for you and all of your players. Super sweet virtual tabletop. Follow this card right here to be directed. And hey, remember guys, patronage at any tier gets you an extra entry, and it gets you in some Pathfinder 2nd Edition one-shots we'll be running just really soon. Anyway, that's all we got for today. Until 4 p.m. when Wednesday afternoon worship drops. We're talking about Feronia, by the way. Ever heard of that one? Yeah, I hadn't really heard that much either. Regardless, be sure to like and subscribe for more videos. The next episode of your Pathfinder 2nd Edition preview content, in theory, drops this Saturday.